Hey.
150. Those of you who are Van Halen fans, you know, and guitar players, you know that is one of the toughest songs to figure out. And just a little secret, he drops the E, the low E down to a D. And
that's the trick.
Yeah, and the little riffs that he has for each of the chords, super efficient, and it looks like it sounds like he's doing a lot of complicated stuff, but he's just working around chords, man. It's like crazy. Just doing muting certain rhythmically muting certain strings, and the man was a genius. He was a genius. And that's why people love him, especially his rhythm playing. A lot of people talk about his solo stuff, but there's also a camp that reminds all of us that Eddie's rhythm playing was awesome. But
that's for sure.
What's up, Pete?
Well, here in San Francisco, I'm actually in Union Square. A nice sunny table and a lot of tourists coming by. Someone asked me last night if I was a tourist, and originally I said no. Like, I lived here for like 14 years, and then I'm like, no, actually, I am a tourist.
I love that. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good to be here. I was here for a couple of days, so it's flying back today.
But you're working, though, right?
Yes. I'm not here on a sightseeing thing. No, we had it's SF Tech Week. And so there's a whole series of events throughout the city put on by different companies, and they're all free, and you just come and learn new stuff. So we had one last night at the Hanwha AI Center here right off of Union Square, and had about 80 people there talking about the future is local. So we're talking about local AI or edge AI. Yeah. And we had Qualcomm there, myself, Foundation. We had Femto AI was the coordinator. And the supplier of delicious foods. And it was a good chat. It was a little panel discussion and a lot of not surprisingly, a lot of innovation and ideas going here about startups trying to do interesting things with crazy small language models and kind of private AI agents and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah. So bit of advice to all those guys. Just listen to IoT Coffee Talk. We'll see.
There you go. Should be their first stop.
I totally mean that. I was at Semicon West this week, and I'm telling you, digital twin, IoT, it's all becoming a really big thing because these fabs, especially as they continue to move toward, like the atom, literally in terms of the
process.
Yeah, it's insanity. I mean, you literally have gates that are like 10 atoms wide or some insane scale that we're talking about. IoT, digital twinning, all of these things really matter. And guess what? As far as the conversation, the conversations that I've witnessed there, they could listen and learn a lot from IoT Coffee Talk because they're about to make the same mistakes that efforts before made. So anyways, I wanted to put that out there because literally I'm almost sick and tired of having to repeat all the, same principles out for 6 years and people, making the same mistakes as these words kind of recursively reappear. Anyway, they're like zombies. But hey, everyone, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. Remember, we're here just to have fun. have a conversation that hopefully will produce some insights that might change your life and change your business, maybe even your career, maybe even humanity.
Wow.
Right? Wow. I know. Insane, right, Pete? But take any of our advice or whatever we're talking about here at your own peril. In fact, I think, it's highly recommended that you take out an insurance policy because any decisions you make are entirely your responsibility. So again, having fun, and we hope you enjoy the show. But
yeah,
it's just me and Pete.
Here we are.
Yeah. So big news is Qualcomm. Actually, you mentioned Qualcomm earlier.
We had someone from Edge Impulse on the panel last night, and she said, "Oh, I'm from Edge Impulse, which is a Qualcomm company." And then I said, "Well, what company isn't a Qualcomm company these days?"
The close buying everything.
He's buying it up, man. He's buying it up. Yeah. So the Arduino acquisition. So it's fascinating. Board stuff, but it's not news that a lot of these hardware providers or people in hard tech are kind of going up the stack, to get beyond the silicon, to get software and tools and, tool chains and, platforms, and they want developer communities, and it's really been a 180, I think, the past few years. Maybe the lessons learned, you're talking about lessons learned, that you need to have more of a solution. You need to get customers 80% there, 90% there, if you really want them to get over the line with deployed solutions faster. So I think Qualcomm's making some great investments to do that. So good for them.
Yeah, and I spoke to Massimo, actually, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. And I went to their booth, and he was telling me about how they're looking to make kits a little bit more industrial, like
commercial grade.
Yeah, commercial grade, industrial.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like a new thing for them. In fact, it dovetails really well with the having Qualcomm come into the picture dovetails really well with what they've intended on doing anyways. And they've been partnering with other chip makers, right? ST Micro, NXP, and others. And my impression is just because Qualcomm has acquired the company, it doesn't mean that that dynamic goes away, right?
True. I mean, there is the other side is how interested will other chip companies be interested in working with them? Since the check will ultimately go to Qualcomm, so that probably will pull a little bit of a thing. But
sort of. But I mean, it's not a huge business to begin with. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't think what's probably more important, even though this is a little bit of a head scratcher for me originally, because when the announcement came out, I said, "Hey, wow, this is really cool," but I really don't get the gig, right? And Nicole will emphasize the developer community, and I think that's really what's probably. And it sounded a little bit cliche when he said it, but then now that I think about it more, and I wrote a piece on it, it makes a lot of sense, and that's what everyone's going to want to have. But I think there's an ecosystem strategy or approach that Qualcomm can take where they don't alienate all the existing ecosystem partners, right?
Right.
So, and I think Qualcomm is really well aware of that. Because they don't. I think the golden goose is the quote unquote deliver. The development or developer or builder community, and they don't want to kill what
right
goose of the of the app.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's. I'm sure they're going to try to keep things just like with Edge Impulse, open and available for multi-platform. That's the strength of the offerings, frankly, is that developer ecosystem. So, pulling those folks into the Qualcomm orbit makes sense. And and Qualcomm isn't someone, as you know, who traditionally has had like a gigantic software developer ecosystem for platforms, right? So this is a whole new muscle for them.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily going to go down, I don't think, down to the microcontroller level. That's why I think that oh my god, I keep forgetting the name of the thing. Mono.
Q.
Yeah, they're going to kill me. Yeah, that Uno Q. That's why I think that thing's interesting because it has a microcontroller in it, ST Micro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Controller plus the Dragon Wing.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that leading edge new class. I don't want to say that it's new, but it is sort of new class of smarter endpoint, industrial endpoint device type stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely much more capable. We talk about running AI models, processing a lot more of the data that's created there. That is kind of the new way of doing things. And I think the fact that there's an ST Micro and a Qualcomm Dragon Wing chip on there really speaks to the collaboration that's required in the space, that you need to collaborate. Companies need to collaborate together. Even ones that may consider themselves sometimes competitors need to collaborate in order to get real solutions deployed. So it's good. It's good to see that. I'm sure we'll see more of that too. And that's kind of the sign of the times. I don't think we're done either with the news from different partners about different acquisitions. So we'll just watch this space, I think.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? We've seen a lot of consolidation over the years, and a lot of our friends, as well as the companies that they've started, look for opportunities, synergistic opportunities to get leverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get leverage.
Yeah, and scale. And I mean, I think that's where the one aspect of what Qualcomm's doing with the diversification strategy, that's where that could create opportunities for the whole ecosystem. But that would only be like one channel. Obviously, NXP has their own.
Yep.
But it might be at different levels, right? What obviously Qualcomm's doing is they're trying to target that more intelligent endpoint device, right?
Yeah.
And then that plugs into that whole continuum of edge computing. And like we've discussed 6 years ago, when everyone was trying to figure out what the hell edge computing is, it's a continuum between edge infrastructure and endpoint devices that are connected. It's like an offload, a mutual offload type of bidirectional offload, a distributed computing model.
Right.
The whole idea is that it's not going up to the cloud, right? You're trying to keep local, secure, all those benefits. That's what edge computing is.
Yeah.
Just an endpoint device. There's a whole computing model.
There's an architecture there about,
we explained it 6 years ago. So
I know. Let's do it again.
Well, yeah.
Well, it is so, but now things are more capable, like you said. So you can mitigate your connectivity costs and risk. You can mitigate your cloud tax ingress and egress.
Yes.
Last night, it's like, why would you create data on the edge, take that data, spend money to send it to the cloud, spend money to put it in the cloud, spend money to process it on the cloud, spend money to get it out of the cloud? Exactly. Like, just do it on the device.
Yeah, and you make a great point there, because the economics of it all informs what makes sense in terms of a distributed computing architecture within, and then so that's that question of, do we take stuff all the way to the cloud, or do we keep things local? The edge part, it's not, I remember 7 years ago when we were talking about MEC, we still had people thinking edge computing just happened on the endpoint device, like a microcontroller on a PLC. It's like, no. It's holistically that distributed piece of a distributed computing model, because the PLC has to hit an aggregator of some kind, right? Or something. So that whole construct, that extended system construct, is what edge computing architecture articulates.
Yeah,
and it's something that people just didn't get. And Yeah, IoT Coffee Talk, people. Seriously, don't screw up again. We already answered this question, and we framed everything in. And go back, look 5 years back, all those episodes. We have stuff on edge computing. Actually, year one. Yeah, go do your homework. We're not gonna.
There you go. All right.
Notes. So
I'll wait here. Go do your homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say the other thing that's interesting about this edge computing paradigm or this architecture is that it also puts a lot of focus on the workload orchestration.
Oh, yeah.
Workloads, which there's just so many really interesting companies out there. I mean, all the cloud providers are kind of pushing cloud native stuff down, which is great, but there's so many startups and mid-tier companies like thinking about orchestration. And I'm excited because I think we're going to see AI go into some of that orchestration as well. Like,
yeah. I mean, we're already. You're on mute. I don't know what happened.
Oh, what happened? I got muted. I was going to say the using AI to manage kind of design and traffic of workloads at different endpoints. I think it's going to be really fascinating. So there's a whole renaissance, I think, of orchestration.
Yeah. And it's a great opportunity because, like 3 years ago, I thought I was very hopeful. Like some of the work that Intel, as well as, VMware and some of the telco companies were doing around RAN orchestration, like workload orchestration for the, around this concept of Open RAN was to foster some of the foundational stuff that, because that's like the most intense stuff. In fact, people probably don't realize that the networking in the RAN is similar to what we're seeing in AI supercomputing right now. So people talk about scale up, the scale out, and the scale across now, which NVIDIA coined. A lot of those principles are very, very, in terms of like practical implementation, are very similar to like what you're seeing in, you saw in the RAN. And so that's why you see some of these telco tech companies pivoting toward the fiber networking, the optical stuff.
Yeah, it's the kind of their expertise, right?
Yeah. And then, it's funny because the folks who do AI data center can keep in mind, this is frontier stuff. Nobody knows about this stuff on the data center side because it's very foreign, right? This is like supercomputing frontier stuff. But having covered telco tech, I look at this stuff and I go, oh my God, okay, so this is stuff that they've been doing over here for decades. Right? Forward error correction, like some of the stuff that NVIDIA introduced with Spectrum XGS, which is their whole scale across thing. And Cisco also recently announced a system as well. I think it's it's part of their Silicon One. It's a new switch. It's part of their 8000 series. It does something similar, but you have to factor in a lot of other stuff in particular, reliability, of course, but latency as well, because this are so much.
Latency is a factor on the whole solution. So that's part of the design, right? Is like, we were talking last night about examples of high latency edge AI. Like we're in situations where you don't need low latency for that compute, in which case, like some of these crazy small language models that are designed with millions of parameters, not billions, but they just take longer to come out with an answer. That's perfectly okay because you can fit that into a very inexpensive self-powered endpoint. And if you don't need an instantaneous answer, if you can wait a few seconds, that's fine. And so in some situations like in agriculture and other places where, it's not a real-time thing. So the latency is a big part of the design for sure.
Absolutely. And so, going back to the telco stuff, those are the big topics, right? Especially as they're looking at AI RAN, or the idea of bringing AI for RAN, as they call it.
Yes, AI for RAN. That's the AI Alliance, isn't it? The AI RAN Alliance? Is that what it's called?
So a lot of those discussions are happening already now, but even preceding that, you had the same kind of conversations around that. back when we were talking about, very early on the intent-driven networks, right? So the whole idea was, how do we infuse quote unquote AI at the time, which was mostly ML and quote unquote algorithms, right? How do we now leverage this stuff to, garner some level of autonomy with these intent-driven architectures? And I worked on this stuff a long time ago. So it's interesting to see, like, in different domains, how they're treating literally the same set of edge computing problems, especially as they try to introduce intelligence of different flavors, whether it's ML, which, people have to remember, before ChatGPT, a lot of people were struggling with even that, and they're still struggling with it, right? This stuff is easy. Like, Jensen Huang keeps trying to make it look like it's easy. No, it's like friggin' super hard, and some of it simply doesn't work.
That's true. That's true. It is complicated, and unfortunately adds a level of complexity into a sometimes already a pretty complicated design and deployment process. So, but that's why people get the big bucks, right? Figure that out.
But also a lot of that ends up being experiments. Here's the problem, Rob. I wish Rob was on here, because I want to tell him, dude, 7 Sigma is a real thing. What we're really talking about here in a lot of instances, and especially for the efficiency argument, is literally that extra sigma above 6 Sigma, right? Or that, not even that extra 9, maybe a fraction of that extra 9, but at what cost and what impact in terms of transformation? And so when people are scratching their heads wondering, well, how come the adoption of AI hasn't been so dramatic on the end markets as, you had these casual AI evangelists and, talking heads pontificate about, is because, number one, these people don't think in terms of the technology or the system. They have no concept of architecture. And I say that because I listen to a lot of them, and they just don't know what they're talking about, right? And they also don't understand. They don't have engineering experience, so they don't understand how let's say a step order improvement in a component diffuses and can, in most instances, is almost not noticeable at the system level, right? The impact is much smaller. So as we talk about AI, and by the way, we have talked about this in previous episodes as well. So another reason why you should watch IoT Coffee Talk. It's that one improvement that it does maybe a functional or a function level or task level improvement, but at the system level, it can get diluted. Now, there are cases, and they're more rare, where that improvement has a system-wide exponential impact. But then, in order to forecast what that, or even have a sense of what that might be, that improvement might be, or that application might be, you have to understand how the entire system works. And that's like one of the big challenges. You look at, let's take just for example, these AI supercomputing systems. There aren't that many people that know how these entire systems work.
Yeah, no, it's true.
There's like a degree of compartmentalization. So it's oftentimes difficult to triangulate what sort of technology an application of, let's say, AI is going to have that exponential effect. And we've seen some of that, though, with NVIDIA, in particular, data precision, which has been kind of an iffy thing, because Jensen, the NVIDIA people say, oh, FP4 will, allow us to gajillionize the scaling of our systems, but hardly anyone uses FP4, right? Everyone's still using bfloat 16. So anyway, there are certain things, but then we're finding out some of these scaling factors are also really, really tough. And that applies to smaller systems, right? So as we look at applying AI, people that make it look like this shit is magic, they're the ones that don't know what they're talking about. So warning out there.
Be forewarned. By the way, slight shift in topic, but I met someone last night. It's a young man who was chatting it up after the session, and turns out and he has a day job, but his passion is he puts on these robot fights in San Francisco, like you like robots that fight each other, like box. You've seen those?
Yeah, well, I've seen a few out of China that do kung fu, and that I would never buy because they could probably beat me up if they go, hey.
Yeah, so they do them here in San Francisco, and he holds these fight nights. It's like a fight club with robots, and it's really interesting. I'm like, okay. At first, I was like, that sounds crazy, and of course, then I'm like, well, are you ever going to do it in Seattle? Like, let me know if it's coming to Seattle.
You know what it's like? It's like monster trucks, man.
It is. It's like, yeah, you're cheering on these machines.
Yeah.
But well, we've had those. What are those called? Those what are those robot wars? Battle bots. So it's like that, but they're standing up. He said it's like now it's all fun and games because the robots are only like 4 feet tall. When they're punching each other and stuff. He's like, imagine if we got like the 8-foot robots in there.
Yeah.
Like then it starts to get a little. He's like, it's going to be a little more scary when you have robots taller than you, like smashing each other.
No, you know what I'm going to be afraid of is when they start having humans versus robots. Have you seen that one TikTok video where I think it's called Unis something, Chinese company that makes these robots. I mean, they kind of came into vogue about 3 years ago when they had like one of these robots that hands and crap. That was like one of the first ones. And then now they have a video where they have some dude like basically doing kung fu on this robot. Poor robot, actually.
Yeah, really.
Taking it over, but the whole purpose of this video was to show how the robot can stand up and basically recover from top.
Right. Dust itself off, literally.
But some, really mean dude just beating the crap out of it, right? But then they have a segment that shows it like sitting there punching and doing some kung fu stuff, and I was like thinking how easy it would be to just flip that and then have that thing like beat the crap out of the guy after getting abused like that.
It's we're heading in that direction. Of course, we can always count on humanity to sort of do the wrong thing at the wrong time. So now we're training the robots to fight, and they're going to get taller. But coming to a venue near you is like robot boxing matches.
No, it's more like coming to a battlefield near you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, it'll be a novelty for most people, but that the Pentagon and other military groups are looking at this technology, and I mean they are, right?
By the way, I'm in the middle of a tour group right now. So
yeah, I know.
Stop on the tour.
That's hilarious. Wow, tour group.
It was a big group. Yeah, they had a flag and everything. So,
oh my gosh. Well, you don't
exciting.
See,
but there was like a lot of in San Francisco. Every time I meet someone who works in tech, they always have a side gig or a side hustle for like a startup they're working on or whatever. So, I met someone from Google last night, all in on Google, blah blah blah. But they also have this other startup that they're working on, and could I try their product and blah blah blah. And so it's interesting to see, like, I think the barriers for people to innovate in this space are pretty low. I think people are starting to do some really cool things. Although last time we did talk about the difference between building a product and shipping a product. These are different things.
Yeah.
You can build, but then to ship the product, you need to actually get all the bugs out and, make it supportable and get people to pay for it. So we'll see. But it's great to see at least all of the germination of ideas happening in the space.
Yeah, and a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right, and it's diffusing much more, right? That ease.
Yeah, pretty much anyone can get started if they have a good idea and start to innovate and develop and get some folks together and do something interesting. And like you said, maybe there's an exit, maybe there isn't. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing. I mean, we started off with Arduino. That's the cool thing about Arduino and the maker movement, right? That was the cool thing about it, and it was an accelerator in a way for at least hobbyist IoT for a while.
No, for sure, and for students. I mean, we underwrite a lot of educational programs, and there's always Arduino kits involved, and or Raspberry Pis or whatever. And so, although, like you said, Arduino has shifted in the past couple of years to focus more on sort of commercialized platforms, but it definitely accelerates things.
So that is the cool thing about what Massimo and team were looking at doing, is creating sort of this a continuum from like experimentation, prototyping, all the way through being able to support industrial or commercial grade devices, right? So supporting that whole flow. And I know that that's what Qualcomm is hoping to do as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of all works out. And then, going back to what we were talking about just now, that diffusion of the access and, maybe even some of the simplification of the development and development life cycle for these things, prototyping, that can foster innovation.
Yeah.
And then, it's now that you think about it.
Back in the day, we just had a little breadboard,
Yeah.
It's just blank. Now you can get AI vision kits that are like 80% commercialized and kind of just. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and going back to what we were talking about, edge computing and having those types of blueprints for what a broad solution would look like, that would be also another accelerator. And things like digital chassis. You talk to Nakul, he talks about digital chassis all day. But all the all these solution patterns, and then being able to enable all these developers to stitch the different components and devices together. And obviously the connectivity piece is a big thing as well.
Sure.
And so, if there's one thing Qualcomm knows, they know connectivity.
Connectivity, yes. Yes. Yeah, we use the term blueprints. We like to highlight different blueprints of deployments of edge AI solutions. And then what happens is another business says, oh, my problem is kind of like that problem. It's not exactly like that problem, but kind of. Right. And they can say well, maybe I can take that blueprint and adapt it to solve my problem. And so that's an important part of accelerating the whole ecosystem, is kind of showing success patterns that are successful so that people can adopt them and replicate them. And that being said, you always get the disruptors that come in and think about it totally differently, and you're like, that's always exciting to see. I met quite a few folks last night that were on the disruptor track, and it's a high risk thing, and you're doing something totally different, and but that's what makes it interesting, right?
Well, I mean, a lot of the neuromorphic stuff, like sort of the controller friendly or controller level AI accelerators, and let's call them now ultra low power accelerators, as well as the harvesting stuff. That's pretty nutty stuff. Frontier.
Yeah. If you just kind of throw out everything and say, what if we re-architected stuff around AI? What if we re-architected the hardware around the AI models? starting to see that. I mean, I think the kind of for years, right? It was like, how do we make AI work on traditional computing architectures, right? Kind of stuff the models in there. And now it's like, well, what if we just re-architected the semiconductors and other systems around the AI itself? And, so we're starting to see some interesting efficiencies.
And that's what we're seeing in supercomputers. Is they're finding that the model architectures are actually driving the requirements of the actual hardware and the system. Yeah. And it is determining what the criteria for optimized and what the frontier of optimized means, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
Down, yeah. And then, with the edge, though, a lot of stuff is application specific. So kinds of different optimization profiles out there, right?
Right.
I think that's what's cool about Edge Impulse. When you look at, look at things in terms of an AI dev ops and AI ops perspective, having tooling like that. I mean, that was the thing, right? With Zach and the guys, that was really kind of the problem that they were looking to solve. If you were to think in terms of first principles, right? So, yeah,
complexity. Yeah, and there's also, we were talking to last night. There's a number of companies kind of now back in the compiler space. So when you have these interesting architectures, you have to have interesting compilers,
Yeah.
And so for people that don't know, you write in this kind of object-oriented language, and the compiler does the dirty work to turn it into machine code.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about, well, how do I move models around to different platforms, different architectures? Well, that you need special compilers, and now they're infusing AI into the compilers, to figure out the right way to compile to move it from CUDA to this, to this, to this. Means someday it's going to be, a lot more of a seamless automated process, and, you'll be able to create new funky architectures and not be limited by compilers and tools and stuff. So that's happening at the same time. Yeah, there's a number of startups in the compiler space, which you would think was like compilers, like, not very interesting.
No, it's a big deal. In fact, kernels are a big deal. That's how crazy things are getting, right? But that's going to be different for compilers, more for like coding or model extensibility, portability. Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. You probably never down to the kernel level, but in AI supercomputing, they're going down to the kernel.
Yeah, no,
there's like crazy crap happening. Yeah. So it's, oh my God, it's a lot of crazy stuff.
But yes, I'm looking forward to getting back. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. next week. I just confirmation today. Despite the shutdown, we're still having an event on Wednesday. Someplace, I don't know what it is, but it's like a bunch of congressional Washington people talking about edge AI. So
are they furloughed as well, or are these like?
I think they are. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of staffers there, for sure, and Congress people and other folks. So I think they're just they're in DC waiting to fix this whole thing. So they're all there. It's like it's a high density of Washington folk are in Washington right now.
No, that's cool. Yeah. OCP. I had all these people go, and so I'm going, and I have like a full schedule already. So I'm looking.
Where's that? Where's OCP this year?
San Jose.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's
short enough for you.
No, I know it's sort of a short hop, but yeah, it's intense. Like all the presentations are like 15 minutes long. Max.
Oh yeah, that's the new trend. Is like. It's short. I mean, when I was at the Things conference, I had a keynote for 15 minutes. I thought it was 30 minutes. And then I found out like the day before it was 15 minutes. So I'm like compressing my, but you got to get to the point.
Yeah.
And it's part of the shorter attention span. We have a very short attention span. Even in real life, the talks have to be 15 minutes. I think our longest talks, we have this event in Taipei, November 11th and 12th. I think the longest talks we have are 30 minutes. Those are the long keynotes. Everything else is shorter than that. So yeah, that's the new reality. Get to your point, land it, move on.
Yeah. Yeah,
hopefully people don't start checking their Instagram while you're talking,
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, the other big news. See, there's so much stuff happening. Intel, right? Intel
Yes.
only got their first wafer out, 18A. So it looks like they're gonna ramp up toward the end of the year with 18A for Lunar Lake and Clearwater Panther Lake and Clearwater Falls. So congratulations to Pat Gelsinger and all the other people.
That's right.
Still there, and probably a bunch of them who got laid off or fired for this milestone. Because remember, in the semiconductor industry, things like this happen over years.
Yeah, it's a year process. Yeah.
Right. So it shouldn't have been Liputan. What the right thing that would have been if Liputan invited Pat Gelsinger wafer.
That would have been nice. Yeah.
Be real, right? You got to give credit where credit is due, because he made the big gamble. I mean, he did a couple of things that I thought were really goofy and not exactly, kind of actually got him into trouble that he got into. But in terms of committing to a very risky, aggressive roadmap to get to where Intel got to yesterday, I think, you gotta hand it to him. He's the one that has to do something crazy like that.
Yeah. No, it's true. That would have been nice to give him some recognition on that. It does take years to get that stuff done. So
yeah,
but that's good for them. I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal because it introduces gate all around. They're pretty much going to be. They might actually beat TSMC with gate all around, so which is a new transistor architecture, and that's a big deal, right? Very big deal. And then they're also coming to the table with backside power or power via, which is also another huge architectural change for Intel's next process technology. So I mean, think about it. Guys that have been working on this for the last 5 years, and probably even more, they're the ones who did all the heavy lifting to make this happen. So it's pretty insane. So yeah, congratulations, Pat.
Good job.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
Good. Busy week.
It's good news.
Good news week.
Yeah.
Good news. Good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. All I know is that this episode would not fit in a OCP or a things.
Yes, I know. We've gone on and on, but that's okay.
We always do.
People can listen to it while they're commuting or on the BART or whatever, just to get educated. It's fine with me.
Hang out in Union Square
hanging out in Union Square. There's a lot of tourist groups here. I guess this is the meeting place for the groups.
By the way, you sound awesome, man.
Really?
Yeah.
AirPod Pro 3. So
are you serious? Oh, so you got the new one.
I got the new ones.
So everybody is going to hear how good you sound.
Okay.
It's insane. Or I don't know if it's the AirPods or your voice, because your voice tends to...
Well, it might be my voice. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Actually, last night it was funny. We were at this little event, it was like 100 people, whatever, in the room. And they had one of those powered speakers with the microphones. But someone had cranked up the reverb on the speaker, so when you talk, it had this echo. I was like,
really?
It's like digging the reverb.
Yeah. Maybe somebody did karaoke before.
Maybe it was a karaoke thing. Yeah. They should have done a little karaoke at the end. That would have been fun. But no, these AirPod 3s, I think it's the same chip as the 2s.
Yeah.
It's the same processor, but they have improved the noise reduction and some other things, and the fit feels a little better. But
voice isolation is incredible. I'm telling you.
Maybe that's it. I'm sure they did software upgrades for sure. So that's, as you know, it's
you sound like you're at home on your expensive mic.
Interesting.
I hear a little bit of chirping because there's probably background noise, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
there's people talking.
So. You hear like whatever, the isolation thing a little bit, but I mean, you got. I mean, you got to expect
soft Apple,
Yeah, but it's minimal. But your voice, the quality of your
comes through
really high. Yeah, is it pretty loud right now? Is there?
I mean, we're outdoors. There's people chatting at little tables and stuff. There's nobody shouting, so it's moderate background noise. But yeah, I'm sure the Apple software got totally upgraded and all the other stuff. So I picked these up actually when I was in Amsterdam. I went to the Apple store. It was like the day that all the new stuff hit the retail stores, and which I didn't know. And so I went into this Apple store. It was like shoulder to shoulder, and I'm like, why is everyone in here? And then they told me, yeah, this was the day that all the new stuff came in. I'm actually waiting for my 17 Pro Max to show up.
Really?
In the mail. You get the update. Well, we get it through Costco. By the way, if folks are Costco members, AT&T, Apple is pretty good deals there. So we're getting our upgrades through Costco next couple of weeks. So.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah, no, my wife just got hers, so she was complaining about the whole transfer process, and I was telling her, honey, number one, you have like a bunch of crap on your phone. Crap on your phone. So you can't really complain too much because they still have like the best transfer process, right? And for me, over all these generations, I've never lost anything, which
no, it's good. I mean, you remember how it used to be, right? I mean, there wasn't a transfer process, or you'd plug your phone into some machine and it would plug into it. It's like
oh my god,
you got your contacts over, but now these days it's all like beep 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 bop.
Yeah. I mean, Samsung, Lenovo, Google, they even do a good job, and they used to be way behind.
That's true. That's true.
Apple's still killing it with that.
Good.
And driving the refresh cycles. Yeah, I'll tell you right now. So people are coming up with all kinds of theories about why the 17 or this generation is doing so well. It boils down to this:
orange,
freaking color, man.
I love orange.
Yeah, it's just the color.
Colors matter.
It's AI. It's got to be the AI. It's like what?
No, it's a cool color, man. People should. If people want to get into colors, there's a company called Pantone, and they produce those books that have reference colors. But every year they do a color study. I think it's free on their website, but. And what are the color trends for the year? They pick like color of the year. It's very interesting. It does affect us. It affects us psychologically, the colors. And,
it does.
And it's an interesting business to be in, first of all, and a very interesting field of study in terms of color theory and how people are affected by color. But, people at Apple obviously take that pretty seriously and paying off because they picked the orange. Oh, there you go. You got, what is that? That's the new Lenovo thingy dingy.
Yeah, X9. It's their first white ThinkPad.
Yeah.
It's cool. And for them, from a brand perspective, it's a huge deal, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. And this thing, when did Apple ever do premium? Premium was always like these sort of, modest toned down colors, right? Black, white, or some weird silver thingy, blue. Maybe a gold, but then this is different. This is like
orange is it's a statement when you go orange. Filson. I'm a Filson fan, and they do the orange stuff, which traditionally has been like for like construction workers and stuff, like warning, don't run me over, orange. But now, or if you're a hunter, right, you wear orange to make sure you don't get shot.
Really, but then the game can see you from a mile away. Like a deer.
That's true.
Or antelope or whatever the hell you're hunting probably can see you from like.
Well, I guess when you're in the blind, you don't wear the orange, but I guess when you're, I'm not a hunter. I don't know how it works. They just, someone can comment how that works.
Yeah, exactly. We've made it this far. Please, if you're a hunter, avoid getting shot.
There you go. Don't dress up like a deer. That's number one.
Yeah, and do you dress in this color? And are you counting on all of the potential game that you're trying to hunt to be colorblind? That's the other thing. Right. Yeah.
Anyway, well, I'm going to have to jump to a rendezvous.
Yeah. So, hey, we'll just end the episode here. Thanks, everyone. If you've made it this far, quite remarkable. That means you have attention. Is that you are not like everyone else and have a 5-second attention span and will no longer be able to learn or eventually think. Because remember, with AI, what was the big thing? Attention. And when you lose it as a human being, guess what? You're not going to be better than AI. So, anyways, maybe meditate on that for a little bit.
That's right.
Again, for those of you who've made it this far, wow, you're going to survive. And speaking of attention, I don't remember everything that we talked about, but I know that we started with Qualcomm Arduino. We talked about computing. We talked about Intel and how it takes a hell of a long time and a lot of investment to get to the achievement that they did this week, which was 18A, basically, producing their first wafer. And then we talked about Edge AI, because why? Pete's on, and he will talk about Edge AI. He's going to bug the crap out of us about Edge AI forever. And anyways, we hope that you found this episode insightful and helpful. Remember, just listen to all the episodes. We've already answered all the questions that you go. Going into these new hype cycles of resurrected zombie technologies. And remember, elevatecommunities.org. That is the charity that we support and that we sponsor here on IoT Coffee Talk. Please go there and consider making a donation. We're trying to elevate communities all over the world. Help them implement, emerging technologies, IoT-ish kind of stuff. Resilient, prepared in the light of what are probably going to be increasing natural disasters and all these other nasty things that are our lives. So with that, remember, subscribe to IoT Coffee Talk at www.iotcoffeetalk.com, and we will see you next week.
That was good.
Pete, don't fall in the hole.
I know. I'll see you.
See ya.